Ocarina of Time is widely considered to be the best game in the Legend of Zelda franchise. It's got everything you'd want in a Zelda game, from fun to use items to epic locations. Some of those amazing locations just so happen to house the best dungeons we've ever seen in Zelda. Over the course of the next 6 weeks, I'll be taking a look at each of the temples in Ocarina of Time, analyzing them, and grading them. I've already done this with the Child Temples and Majora's Mask Temples, which I'll link below if you want to give them a watch. Since I'm assuming some of you haven't seen those videos, let me walk you through how I analyze the temples. I'll talk about the lead up to the temple alongside everything I find important to talk about. I've also never fully 100%ed Ocarina of Time, so gold Skulltula placements inside the temples won't affect the temple's grade too much. Sorry to all the Ocarina of Time completionists out there, go ahead and leave those hate comments. For our first episode of this series, we'll be taking a look at one of my favorite temples ever, the Forest Temple. So without any further ado, let's get right into the grading and analysis of Ocarina of Time's Forest Temple. With all the child temples taken out, we can head on over to a grim scene at Hyrule Castle. Link gets jump-scared by Zelda and Impa fleeing the castle, and Zelda throws something into the moat. All of a sudden, the Demon King himself, Ganondorf, pops up and asks Link to give him a little help on finding the princess. Link doesn't take crap from no one though, and refuses to tell Ganon where they went, causing him to get blasted. He runs away like the wuss he is, and we can see what Zelda threw into the moat. It's the Ocarina of Time, and once picked up, Link gets some sort of vision where Zelda teaches him the Song of Time. Before we head to the Temple of Time though, I have to do my daily dead person Easter egg run through. In the alleys of the market, you can find a dying soldier. If you talk to him, he'll tell you that the castle was under attack and that Zelda needs Link. This is honestly kind of a random NPC encounter. From what I know, this was a leftover asset from earlier builds of the game. It's super cool that this got left in and also adds some mystery as to what really went on here. Anyways, once we get to the Temple of Time and play the Song of Time, the Master Sword is in our sights. Once it's taken out of the pedestal, we get a glimpse of Ganondorf as he's able to get the Triforce of Power. When Link awakens, he's in the Sacred Realm and a whole lot older. This is where he meets Rauru, the first of 7 sages. He catches Link up to speed on what's been going on and how he can stop Ganon. Before he lets us be on our merry way, he gives Link the Light Medallion. Once we get out of the Sacred Realm, a certain someone is lurking in the shadows. This is the introduction of Sheik into the Zelda franchise, and she comes with one of my favorite pieces of music from the game. She tells us all the different locations where sages are being held captive, with the very first one we need to go to being the Forest Temple. She also says that we should probably head on over to Kakariko Village before going to other temples before peacing out. Something I've always loved about the adults section is how much more dark the game becomes. Instead of the market being this merry and happy place it was 7 years ago, it's broken down with redheads everywhere. Okay, while writing the script, it actually tried to autocorrect redheads to redheads, and I just found that super funny, so I just had to say it. Before going to the Forest Temple though, we need to get everyone's favorite traversal item, the hookshot. If we head on over to Kakariko Village Graveyard and pull back this specific tombstone, we can enter this well-named area. This just so happens to be Dampy the Gravedigger's grave, and he challenges Link to a little race. I've never really found this race to be fun, and it's even quite annoying because of the flames dropped by Dampy. There's so many twists and turns, and I feel like he always drops the flame right as I turn a corner. Nonetheless, if you do the race in a certain amount of time, Dampy will give Link the hookshot. With the hookshot, we can now head on over to the Forest Temple. As we come across Link's old home, there's nobody in sight, just a bunch of different enemies. This feels almost exactly like what Hyrule Market looks like right now. It's a barren wasteland with none of the whimsy the locations had when Link was a child. Nonetheless though, we have to head through the Lost Woods, but this stupid idiot Mido is back at it again, blocking our path. Seeing Mido even brings back some of that whimsy I originally felt in this location. He doesn't recognize Link at first, but if you play Saria's song, he'll let you pass on through. We still have to traverse the maze-like area where we originally learned Saria's song. Instead of having to deal with Deku scrubs, there's moblins to avoid, and because I'm super impatient, I don't like them. After the maze, there's one final moblin that's not nearly as annoying because you can just run right past him. As we come upon where Saria once sat, we get another cutscene with Sheik. Before each of the adult temples, Sheik will appear and teach you a song that lets you fast travel to the temples. For the Forest Temple, we get taught the Minute of Forest, and it's a neat little song. Using the hookshot on this piece of wood, we can enter into the Forest Temple. The Forest Temple is atmospherically one of the best temples in Zelda, and a huge component to that is the awesome music. While the previous 3 temples have more so background noise, the Forest Temple is the first temple where the theme is more apparent. It also helps add to the darker and creepier atmosphere that the adult part of the game has. The song starts out with some bone rattling noise that's heard throughout almost the entire piece. There's also pop-ins of dissonant notes that I love to think represent the 4 foes that you have to defeat in the temple. Finally, we have the glass harmonica, which adds a nice backing to the track. If you want to learn more about the Forest Temple's music, check out this video by Save Data that I'll link in the description. But only go there after you finish this one. Please, 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 I need my precious watch time. Before you truly enter the temple, you have to fight a couple of Wolfos. The Wolfos used to be some of the harder enemies as a kid, but now as an adult, they're total pushovers. I've always thought that these being the first enemies in the first adult temple was such a great idea. It shows how much more powerful Link is, and it's the small things that make me appreciate this temple a lot more. Also in this room, we can do some climbing to get a gold Skulltula token and a small key. After going through a little hallway with a Skulltula, we arrive at the Forest Temple's main room. There's 4 torches lit up by 4 different Poes who retreat to different rooms of the temple. In order to get to the boss of the Forest Temple, you need to light all the flames back up so that you can use an elevator. The Forest Temple feels pretty open whenever you first enter it, however there is sort of a set path. If you continue going straight in the central room, there's a door leading to a hallway with a blue bubble blocking the way. After getting rid of him and going through another door, we enter a room with a couple of Stalfos to fight. These guys are some of the harder enemies you'll find here, but if you're patient, they aren't too bad. After they're both defeated, a chest spawns in the center of the room containing a small key. Next we can head on over to this block and play the Song of Time. When played near these blocks, you can either make them appear or disappear. Behind the block is a door that takes us outside where there's a few enemies. On one of the walls, there's some vines with a couple of skull Waltulas on it. You can take a couple of them out with your hookshot and sneak past the others to find a door. This leads to a hallway with yet another blue bubble, and a chest spawns in when he's defeated containing the dungeon map. Through the hallway, we reach a balcony area, and up here there's a switch that when pressed down drains the well in this new area. This place looks pretty similar to the previous outside area, and it can get kinda confusing if you aren't paying that much attention. If you go down the well, you'll find another chest containing yet another small key. With all these small keys, we can head on back to the central room and head through this locked door. This leads to yet another hallway with a Skulltula, and past that is a very blocky room. After going up a couple of ladders, you'll find a block that can be pushed around in order to keep climbing. There's another block which takes a bit more work to get into place, but allows you to climb to the top of the room. Up here is a door we can unlock, and through here is a twisting hallway that I've always found to be super cool. There's also a mysterious eye right above the door that will come into play later. At the end of the hallway is a room that we can actually rotate, but we need the dungeon item to do that. Instead, we can head through this locked door, and there's some blank portraits and some stairs. Eventually, you'll come across a door that leads into a room where you fight some more Stalfos. The difference between this and the last Stalfos fight is that there's a missing piece of the floor, which can be detrimental if you aren't careful. Once you defeat the first Stalfos, something drops from the ceiling, filling in the floor. After that, you get to fight 2 more Stalfos, and it's more the same before a chest spawns and grants us with the dungeon item, the fairy bow. The bow is a staple of Link's item kit, and it's super nice to finally have it in our arsenal. Now the next puzzle I've always thought was super creative. On the 2 staircases between the Stalfos room, there's paintings of 2 Poes. You have to shoot all of the pictures in order for the Poe to appear, but if you're too easily in view, the Poe will move to a different picture. After destroying all 3 portraits with our new bow, a Poe appears and the fight is kinda boring. After you hit him once, he'll become invisible for a bit before being able to be damaged again. While the concept of the fight isn't half bad, I don't find the Poes to be super fun to fight. After defeating both Poes, their flames return to the torches, and they each drop a small chest containing a small key and a compass. Now with the fairy bow, we can head on over to the door with an eye above it. If you shoot the eye with an arrow, the twisted room and the one it leads to will both rotate. At the end of the tunnel, you'll find a very colorful chest containing the boss key. There's also a hole that we can jump down where there's more of these blue bubbles we need to take out in order to progress. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I absolutely love the enemy choices for this temple. Everything is either undead or some plant-like creature. They fit the theme of the old ancient temple aesthetic to a T, and it's another little thing about the Forest Temple that makes it so good. Once the blue bubbles are dead, again I guess, a door unlocks which sends you back outside. After taking down the big Deku Baba immediately in front of you, there's 2 doors we can go through. Behind one of them is a small room with a wall master inside. I know earlier I was praising the enemies of the Forest Temple, but this room just feels a little off. Anyways, once you take him out, you can get a chest with another small key inside. The other door sends you back to the room where you pushed a bunch of boxes. We can make our way back up to the door with an eye above it in order to make the twisted room go back to how it was originally. If we travel all the way through many doors in both rooms where we fought Poes, we'll come across another rotating room with another hallway, this time with some green bubbles instead of blue bubbles. At the end of the hallway is a locked door that takes you into a room with some rotating platforms. There's a torch in the middle of it all alongside a frozen eye. Using the rotating platform, you can shoot an arrow through the torch and melt the eye, which makes the hallway we just came down rotate. We can then go down the hallway and drop down another hole to enter a new room. I always love when there's new rooms that look like this in Zelda temples. The ceiling actually falls down after a certain amount of time, and there's a couple of holes that you can go under so you don't get crushed. There's also a couple of Skulltulas in the holes, so it's best to take them out beforehand. It's also super fun to see if you can make it to the end of the room in one try, but spoiler alert, you almost never do. Through this next door, we come across another portrait of a Poe that when shot makes some blocks fall from the ceiling. You have to push the blocks together in order to form a picture of that very same Poe. I really like the concept of this puzzle, but I wish it was developed a bit more. I still think what we got is super fun though, and once the picture is formed, the green Poe will spawn to initiate a mini-boss. He works the exact same as the previous fights, and once he's defeated, a new pathway opens. We can take this door, go through a hallway with a Skulltula, and take the next door to get back into the central room. This time, the final purple Poe is right above the elevator, and he's actually got a different fighting style. He'll clone himself, but only one of his clones is the real him, and that real clone will do a little twirl signifying it's him. You can then shoot the twirling ghost with an arrow to damage him. Do that enough times, and the final flame will be returned, allowing Link to use the elevator to take him down to the lower floor. This is the very last room before the boss, and it's unlike anything we've seen yet. You have to rotate the room by pushing these things, I don't know what they are, and push multiple switches down in order to unlock multiple doors. Once again, the Forest Temple tries something that you don't normally see in a Zelda dungeon, and I think it's pretty fun to do. Once every switch is pressed, we can make our way down to a hallway and open up the boss door. While the place doesn't immediately look like a boss arena, it'll end up fitting the boss fight super well. Speaking of the boss though, I don't know where he is. Maybe the game is bugged or something, let me just stroll on out of here. What? If you try to leave, that's when the boss of the Forest Temple, Phantom Ganon, decides to show up. Unfortunately, the boss theme isn't some special theme for it being a version of Ganon, but luckily the Ocarina of Time boss theme is still pretty good. Phantom Ganon will ride his steed through different paintings in this room. You'll then have to look around at the different paintings to figure out which one he'll come out of. Be careful though, because there might be a fake Phantom Ganon in other paintings. After shooting the real Phantom Ganon with your bow a few times, he'll eventually ditch the steed, and then we get a one-on-one battle with him for phase 2. Phantom Ganon will shoot some sort of magical orb at Link, and you get to play a little game of tennis with it, hitting it back and forth. After a hit, Phantom Ganon will get hit by the orb, allowing you to attack. I've always loved the Phantom Ganon boss fight and how it helps prepare you for the actual Ganondorf fight later down the line. The only thing I would change about the fight is to put a different piece of music here. Like I said earlier, I'm fine with what we get to listen to, but for fighting a Phantom Ganondorf, I would have preferred a bit more epic piece of music. Once he's defeated, we actually get a little bit of dialogue with the real Ganondorf where he does his usual threatening to Link and promises to banish his phantom to the gap between dimensions. Most importantly though, we get a heart container and we get teleported back to the Chamber of Sages. Inside, we meet the Forest Sage who, believe it or not, is Saria. She tells Link that she's always believed in him and that destiny was always going to separate them from each other. It's actually really sad that one of the people Link grew up with won't be able to be with him simply because of destiny. Right before we leave the Chamber of Sages, Saria gives Link her power by giving him the Forest Medallion. However, even with this sad moment, we still get a bit of hope as we get placed right in front of the corpse of the Great Deku Tree. There seems to be some sort of plant right in front of him when all of a sudden out pops a mini Deku Tree. He tells us that since Link and Saria broke the curse set on Kokiri Forest, he's able to grow now. Link also gets a little surprise from him because as it turns out, Link was never a Kokiri, he had always been a Hylian. Apparently, there was this great war before the King of Hyrule unified the country and Link's mother, though gravely injured, fled to the forest and entrusted the Great Deku Tree with her child. After that revelation, the Deku Tree Sprout tells us to free all the other sages, and that's about it. Now while I should technically go ahead and give the Forest Temple its rating, I want to talk about the Lon Lon Ranch section of the game since I won't get another chance to talk about it. This won't actually count towards the temple rating though, but you're most likely going to do this stuff around this point in the game, so why not talk about it now. If you head over to Lon Lon Ranch, things aren't looking too good as Ingo has taken over the ranch from Talon thanks to Ganondorf. Instead of having just a normal ranch, he has all these horses gathered in the center and it gets you to pay rupees in order to ride them. Epona is actually still here, and if you play Epona's song, she'll come over to Link and you can even ride her. While you can just ride around and have a grand old time, if you talk to Ingo while on Epona, he'll challenge you to a race around the track. It can actually be a super annoying race if you mess up even slightly, but at least it's short. After you beat him once, his ego gets the better of him and he'll challenge you to another race, but if you win this time, you'll get Epona. The second race is the exact same, and since Ingo's such a sore loser, he locks Link in the ranch. While it may seem like there's no way out, you can actually just jump over the fence in an iconic cutscene. Okay, let's get back to the Forest Temple rating. I think that the Forest Temple is one of the best temples in all of Zelda. It's unique, has one of the best items in the game, and ends with a fun boss fight. While I have minor problems with the temple, they're few and far between. I'm gonna give the Forest Temple an S tier simply for being one of the most well-made temples in all of Zelda. Well, there you have it. There's the Forest Temple analyzed and graded. I'm very excited to bring the Temple by Temple series back, and it's going to be fun for the next few weeks. We'll be taking a look at the Fire Temple next week, so stay tuned for that. I've got a lot of big plans for the future, and I'll even be launching a second channel where I'll talk about movies and TV shows. If that interests you, I'll leave a link to the channel below so you can go ahead and subscribe and stuff. The very first video on that channel should be uploaded sometime in the month of February. Also, after we conclude the adult temple analysis videos, we'll be taking a short break from Zelda, and I'll be covering some things in the Resident Evil franchise to celebrate Resident Evil Requiem's release. Don't worry though, because after a couple of Resident Evil videos, we'll be taking a look at the Wind Waker temples and analyzing them. I want to thank everyone who made it this far in the video. It means so much to me that you watched my dumb little YouTube video all the way through, and if you did have a good time, maybe consider liking and subscribing for more videos like this. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but I've got a new mic. Let me know how it sounds because I'm still tinkering with it. But that's gonna do it for me. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be seeing ya.